Hello, I'm Ken with Orion Telescopes and Binoculars, and this is the Orion SpaceProbe 2 76 millimeter Altaz reflector. It's a, like I said, 76 millimeter, that's about 3-inch reflector on a simple Altaz mount. And Altaz means altitude, up and down, azimuth, left and right. So this telescope moves very simply up and down and left and right. It's motions you're already used to. There's no polar lining with this type of a mount. Very simple system and easy to use to move around the night sky. Let me show you some of the features about the telescope, and then at the end I'll kind of show you how to basically use the telescope to get started looking at something in the night sky. Well, the telescope itself features a 76 millimeter reflecting mirror down on the bottom here, well, bottom on this side. That's big enough to get all sorts of great views of planetary and lunar details. So rings of Saturn come out very easily. The moons around Jupiter, a couple of cloud belts on Jupiter. If you're looking at the deep sky objects, you'll be picking the brighter ones. This telescope is definitely capable of seeing some of those. So if you were to point this at the Orion Nebula, you'd see some of the clouds and dust and gas up there. Andromeda Galaxy, you'd see a nice little oval structure. Of course, all that's provided that you get a little bit away from the city lights. That really helps when you're looking at the deep sky. There's a vast majority of star clusters that are visible with a 76 millimeter. So something like the Pleiades star cluster will look beautiful. So moon and planets are excellent, and then some of the brighter deep sky objects are well within the range of a 76 millimeter reflector. On the side, you get a couple of accessories. So first of all, you get two eyepieces, 25 millimeter and a 10 millimeter. So you've got your low power 25 and the high power 10. I hear a lot that people get those confused and they think the 25 is the higher power. It sort of makes sense because it's the higher number. But it works the opposite. 25 is low power, 10 is your high. You always start with something like this to find the field of view, and then you zoom in with the 10 to get a closer look. On the side, you have a finder scope. And this is a red dot reflex sight style finder. So very simple to use. You look through it, you see a little dot floating in the sky, and you just move the telescope around until the dot overlaps with the object that you want to look at. And when you look through the eyepiece, there's your object. So the mount, like I said before, is a little Altaz yoke mount. Just swivels up, down, and left and right. No polar lining necessary like you would on an equatorial mount, so definitely a simpler system. Once you lock down the object that you want to see, let's say you're looking at Jupiter right there, you lock it down here for up and down, and you lock it right over here for left and right. There's a micro motion control rod here for up and down, so you can actually get a little bit finer control by just twisting this knob, and it will slowly raise or lower the telescope to recenter an object. For left and right, you've got a nice long tangent arm here, so you can just move it by hand and get very fine motions just by grabbing the end of the telescope and pushing. So a very simple mount to use for finding things in the sky. In terms of using the telescope, there's really not much that goes into this. It's very simple. You've got your low power eyepiece installed in the focuser. You've got your finder on the side. The knob is unlocked here. Now you can move the scope around, up, down, left, and right. The first thing you've got to do before you can use the scope to find something in the night sky is to align the finder. That's really the one primary thing you want to do. Otherwise, it's really hard to find things. There's a lot of black area around the object that you want to look at. It's a big sky and a small object. So having a finder that's aligned really helps aim the telescope well. So you do that during the day. Find some corner of a building or the top of a power pole, some object that's easily identifiable out there. Point the telescope at it, not using the finder scope, because remember, this is not aligned. When you first attach this, it might look like it's facing the same direction as the telescope, but it's a little bit off. The dot's not precisely calibrated. So find something the hard way. Look through the eyepiece, get the corner of the building centered in the eyepiece, lock it down, and then verify that it's right in the center of your field of view. Then look through your finder scope, and you'll see the dot. It'll probably be a little bit off. There's two screws, one here and one here, right there. That adjusts the dot of the finder scope. One will adjust it this direction, and the other adjusts it this direction. So play with both of those until the dot's overlapping with the object that you see in the eyepiece, and then you're calibrated. You might have to go back and forth a couple times in case you bump the telescope as you do the calibration, but pretty quickly you'll get that dot aligned, and now you're ready to use the finder to center some object in the sky. And then, since I know this is calibrated, when I look through this eyepiece, it will be right in the middle of the field of view. One last thing to keep in mind when using a telescope like this, if you're a beginner and you haven't really used eyepieces in telescopes before, I do hear this a lot, is how the eyepieces insert into the telescope. So the eyepiece has this 1.25 inch barrel, and it slips into the focuser, and it uses this set screw on the side to clamp it down. I hear a lot of people try to, if they want to remove the eyepiece, they try to unscrew the eyepiece. Well, you don't want to do that because while yes, you can unscrew the bottom of this eyepiece here, that's part of the assembly process for the eyepiece at the factory, and you don't want that to come off. So leave it attached and thread it on. It's a slip fit. You loosen this set screw so it's not impinging into the inside ring, and you just slip the eyepiece in and tighten the set screw, which pinches the eyepiece from the side. And then same thing, when you want to remove it, don't unscrew it, just loosen the set screw and slip the eyepiece out and drop your other eyepiece in. That's all you've got to do. Very simple. All right, well, there you have it. Those are the features of the SpaceProbe 2 76mm Altaz reflecting telescope. You're ready to go out and start viewing the night sky, so enjoy your telescope. Thank you very much. Clear skies.